Have you ever felt like your city is just working against you? You know, like you're spending way more time stuck in traffic than you are actually living your life? Well, it turns out there's a blueprint to fix that. So let's dive in and see what it really takes to build the city of the future.
So let's start with the big question. Why is your city stuck? I mean, why does it always feel like you're in a traffic jam, housing costs are just shooting through the roof, and finding a decent patch of green space is almost impossible? These aren't just random, annoying things. They all point back to the very same root cause.
You see, the traffic, the insane housing prices, those are just the symptoms we feel every day. The real problems, the root causes, are kind of hidden under the surface. We're talking about decades of fragmented land ownership that makes sensible planning a nightmare. Totally outdated zoning laws that force us to build out instead of up, and a completely broken system for funding the roads and transit we desperately need. But what if there was a plan designed to tackle those root causes head-on? Well, there is. It's called the Urban Land Efficiency and Congestion Management Policy. Yeah, I know, it's a mouthful, but just think of it as a comprehensive blueprint designed to fundamentally rewire how our cities grow and function. At its absolute core, the policy has one very clear, very simple mission: to create a national framework that cuts down on all that traffic and makes our urban land use way, way more efficient. It's all about being smarter with the space we already have. So what's the end game here? What does success actually look like? Well, the goals are pretty much exactly what you'd hope for. Less traffic, thanks to more compact, walkable neighborhoods, an end to that endless, soul-crushing suburban sprawl, and a fair, transparent way to fund new infrastructure that doesn't break the bank. Okay, so having a big plan is great and all, but how does it actually work on the ground? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. This policy introduces a toolkit of some really powerful ideas that might sound a little technical at first, but trust me, they're built on some brilliantly simple concepts. All right, first up is a tool called land readjustment. Now, the official definition says it's a mechanism where landowners pool their land for replanning and then get back plots that are smaller, but actually more valuable because they're fully serviced with things like roads and utilities. But here's the simple version. Imagine a whole city block filled with these small, awkwardly shaped lots owned by different people. It's a mess. Instead of the government having to do the slow, expensive work of buying everyone out, the owners all agree to pool their land together. Then a planner comes in, carves out space for new roads, maybe a little park, and then gives each original owner back a brand new, perfectly shaped, and now much more valuable plot of land. See? Everybody wins. This one tool is a game changer. It lets a city create new roads and public spaces basically for free, without complex government buyouts. It unlocks land that was previously just too fragmented and messy to develop. And the original landowners, they directly benefit from the increased value. It's just smart, coordinated redevelopment. Now, once you have this well-planned land, how do you pay for all the new infrastructure that makes it great? Well, that brings us to the next tool in the kit, value capture. The formal definition is that it's a way to finance public projects by recovering a slice of the increase in land value that happens because of that very project. Let's make that even simpler. Think about it. The city builds a brand new subway station. All of a sudden, all the land around that station becomes way more desirable, right? And so its value skyrockets. With value capture, the city just asks for a small piece of that new value, that windfall profit that no one really earned, to help pay for the subway that created all that value in the first place. It becomes a self-funding loop. It just makes sense. And here's why that's so crucial. This creates a sustainable way to fund the things we all need, like better transit. It's fair, it's logical, and the policy makes it clear that all the numbers and how the money gets spent have to be totally transparent. So we have a way to plan the land, and we have a way to fund the infrastructure. But what about preserving the character of a city, the things we love, while still allowing it to grow? That's where our third tool comes in: transferable development rights, or TDRs. Let's use an analogy here. Think of these TDRs as development coupons. Imagine you own a beautiful 2-story historic building, but the zoning laws say you could technically build up to 10 stories high. You'd never want to tear it down, so all that extra development potential just sits there, unused. TDRs let you sell that unused height, your development coupon, to a developer in another part of the city who wants to build, say, a 12-story building where the limit is only 10. This is so clever because it creates a market-based system to achieve public goals. It gives owners a real financial incentive to preserve historic buildings and open spaces while letting the city guide new, dense development to the areas that can actually handle it, like right next to those new transit stations. Now, all these tools are guided by a whole new playbook for growth. The policy calls for way more flexibility, letting shops, offices, and homes all mix together. It focuses on building with more height and density along transit corridors. And this is huge. It draws a firm urban growth boundary to stop the sprawl. The message is crystal clear. We need to build up, not out.
The blueprint also completely rethinks our streets. The plan is to take a lot of the space currently used for on-street parking and give it back to people, for wider sidewalks, for protected bike lanes, for more trees and green space. It's a massive shift in priority, away from just moving cars to moving people safely and creating public spaces we actually want to spend time in.
But, a great blueprint is totally useless without the builders. So who is actually responsible for making all of this happen? The policy is very clear. This has to be a coordinated team effort. And as you can see, it's a top-down and a bottom-up approach. The national ministry sets the big picture direction, while local councils get to create the specific plans with their own communities. Transport authorities have to get on board and integrate their planning. And, this is key, private landowners like you and me are empowered to be active participants in improving our own neighborhoods. Everybody has a role to play. So when you put all these different pieces together, the tools, the new rules, the clear rules for everyone, what's the big picture? What does it all add up to? Well, it's a fundamental shift in philosophy, from the sprawling, car-choked city of the 20th century to a more compact, efficient, and human-centered city for the 21st century.
Ultimately, what does this all mean for you? Why does any of this matter? It's actually pretty simple. It's about trading a long, stressful commute stuck in a car for more time in your day, more time with your family, more time for your hobbies, more time to just live. This blueprint paints a picture of a very different kind of city, one that's compact and efficient, one that's more equitable, where owning a car is an option, not a necessity, and one that's greener, with more beautiful public spaces and a much smaller environmental footprint. So, the plan is here, the tools are defined, the blueprint to fix our cities exists. The real question it leaves us with is this: are we, as citizens, as communities, and as a nation, finally ready to build it together?